All right, 11 a.m. Wednesday morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins here in Tampa Bay, Florida. And here is the latest on a strengthening, a reorganizing a little bit, Hurricane Erin that is now moving off towards the north and approaching the Carolina coastline. The center will remain offshore. Let me get that out of the way right away. But we will already see in the waves, or we're going to get a little bit of wind on the outer banks. Florida's looking good. Things are getting better, although we will keep the surf and the rip current risks over the next couple of days. But we do have a little bit of breaking news because the hurricane forecast is coming out, and at 11 o'clock just came out and said it's forecasting for a stronger storm. Number one, it's looking at winds right now at 110 miles per hour. One more, 111, starts the major hurricane status, Cat 3 or higher, and that is now in the forecast. I think it's going to go up to about 120. We'll talk about that. Pressure's back down to 41 millibars, and it's moving to the north at 13 miles per hour. That is good. There's no north-northwest. There's no west in it. And you want north, you want north-northeast. In fact, you would just take northeast would be great at this particular point. But there's a closer look at it. You can see what's happening over here. Now, keep in mind, there's obviously lots of rising air in a hurricane, and you can see the showers and storms on the outside here. But on the outside of that is a bunch of sinking air, and that's exactly where most of Florida is, at least the peninsula for today. So there will be some showers and storms, but there will not be a lot because the air is literally rising here, coming over, and sinking here. Okay, and that's you can actually see these showers and storms here are part of that rising air. They're right on the cusp. Closer look at it, we have an eye again. Eye wall's been trying to form. It's about 15 nautical miles wide right now. Looks like that may get a little bit bigger. It had some wind shear on it yesterday, and that's what really kind of knocked it down just a little bit. But that wind shear, which at one point was sitting right about in here on it, is now doing something more like this. It's kind of coming up and over. Let me pull this down just a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. It's kind of doing something a little bit more like that. And so that's allowing this storm to fire back up. It did have a little bit of dry air come into it, and that affected it a little bit, but not a whole lot. Now, here's the latest track. The 11 o'clock numbers that just came in, 120 mile per hour winds, Cat 3, by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now, at that point, that's about as close as it's going to get to the Carolinas. That's about 170 miles or so from Cape Hatteras. That's about 300 miles east of Wilmington, North Carolina, Riceville Beach area. All right, and it's already, at that point, this is key, by tomorrow morning, it's already moving northeast. Okay, so it's moving north now. It'll go north-northeast tonight, and then it looks like northeast during the day on Thursday and head on out to sea. So, great news there, and you can see that it is going to continue to move out, and really it's going to get sheared apart. There's a lot more shear coming in from the north and the west, something like this, and that's really going to knock this thing down. But by that time, it's turning extra tropical. It's over cooler water, and speaking of that, this area right in here, some of the warmest water that there is in the Atlantic right now, and that's part of the issue of it strengthening just a little bit. We think that's going to be coming back up. All right, forecast models. Obviously, this far along in the game, very good agreement for the area that we're concerned about, which is obviously here all the way through about here, okay? And that's next 48 hours, right? So you're going to have pretty good agreement, and the models really are looking good for that. Watches and warnings. So now they have extended the tropical storm warning from eastern North Carolina, where it was yesterday. This is Onslow County right here, where all my Marine friends at right here. That's Camp Lejeune right in there. So Onslow County all the way up through the Outer Banks, including the Albemarle and the Pamlico Sounds. That means these areas in far eastern North Carolina, like Bath and Pender County, those areas are not Pender County, but over towards New Bern, Craven County. They're right on the cusp of that. And what we had yesterday was a tropical storm watch from the very, say, Duck northward, and that went up to about Rehoboth Beach. It was a little south Rehoboth Beach. Now, that is a tropical storm warning. And the difference is that now we're expecting winds sustained around 40 miles per hour right here along the immediate coast. All right, Chinkatink's in there, Ocean City, Maryland, Ocean Pines. Rehoboth now is in it. They have extended this up to Manasquan, just north of Toms River area. So that area, I mean, obviously the further north you go, the less chance you're going to get 40 mile per hour sustained winds. But that's it. That's a windy day out there on the beach. Okay, surf is already there. The swells will build, but this is wind that will pick up late tonight and during the day tomorrow and tomorrow night. There is a storm surge warning, and I know it's really tough to see here because it's so thin, but a storm surge warning for eastern half of Morehead, Beaufort, basically Morehead City eastward, and that'll go all the way up, obviously, for the Outer Banks. And then it's kind of tough to see. They don't have it much higher than that, okay? It goes all the way up to just north of Kill Devil Hills. That is the extent of it. So the winds are coming in from the north and the east, right? And those will start to pick up, but the swell's been coming in like this. And the swell will get larger. That's what's causing some of the overwash. That's causing, obviously, the large waves. But when you mix it with that wind that's coming, there's already been a ton of erosion on these beaches in the Carolinas, even down into Wrightsville. But that's just going to get really bad as we pick up the wind a little bit and the surf size increases over the next 24 to 36 hours. So there's been some erosion. You've probably seen video of it. I would expect that there would be a lot more where that came from as we go into, well, especially tonight, but I'd say really during the day on Thursday and into Thursday night. Things will be getting better in those areas for Friday. This is Thursday, and you can see where the storm is. This is showing you the shear. Remember I was talking about that shear? Uh-oh, we got a visitor. We got a guest. Mr. Lou. There
Bobby!
Welcome to the show, Lou. How are you?
My guy.
Chief Meteorologist in Jacksonville.
Oh, my gosh. Listen. Hey, Bobby, you the man, first of all. 7 solid minutes of excellence. And I'm not going to point any fingers, and I'm not going to blame anybody. This is great. I have little people that live at my house, and those little people like to get their little hands on my Bluetooth things. And so my AirPods I've had to borrow and sanitize now from a couple of different coworkers, and we put it together, and now I can hear you, and it's wonderful. Thank you. And I want to thank you specifically for something I was just listening to you about. And you are a pro's pro. You pronounced Beaufort correctly. Thank you. And I come from the other one that people mispronounce all the time. I come from Beaufort. Beaufort is my hometown. It's where I grew up, born in Savannah. Yes, Beaufort, South Carolina. Now, it's the South Carolina side, Beaufort. Up in the North Carolina side, Beaufort. You are outstanding.
Yeah,
outstanding
that
stuff.
is how I remember it. Yeah.
Yep, perfect. I get that all the time. You know, you're from Beaufort. No, in fact, I am not. Remember it, beautiful Beaufort. I have not surfed today. I have some lead researchers who are out doing it and have been getting back to me, talking about the potential, as you probably know, talking about maybe even seeing some 11-foot to 15-foot faces out for our surfers today, with a lengthening period. So we're talking about maybe getting a 15-second period. Now, listen, our company line with the weather impact alert has been don't get in the water, right? We've got life-threatening rips, obviously, on the east coast of Florida. We have got climbing wave condition through our high tide tonight, which is at 6:55 at Jacksonville Beach. So I can't emphasize enough, don't get in the water. If you're a novice swimmer, if you're just thinking, I want to learn to surf, today's not the day to do it. But I do also understand that there are folks out there who are expert surfers who say, you know what, weatherman be damned, I'm going out and surfing. Okay, for the love of God, just be near the lifeguard and be safe and be able to safely get back to shore. Now, this is Neptune Beach, Bobby. We're looking live. You see the lifeguards have put out the red flags. They are steady in the breeze right now. You can see coming pretty strong out of the northeast, out of our beach. There, we've had a few showers, and I'm going to say for 95% of our community here in Jacksonville, we have absolutely beautiful weather today. Now, we've had a few coastal showers today, Bobby, and I'll kind of look at radar here in a minute. But overall, absolutely gorgeous. So people are going to be thirsty. Like, I got to go out to the beach. I got to see what this is all about. And we're seeing at Neptune right now, you really need the perspective of people out in it. But, those 5 to 6 foot waves are what we're getting reported by the buoys.
Well, I've got the wave heights pulled up here. And you can see this is the actual forecast.
Yep.
There you go. There's your map right there. That's a great one. There you go. So those are currents, and 5 to 6.
Yep.
And when you said that the wave period is going to 15 seconds, the wave period is basically the time from the top of one wave to the top of another. And the larger that number is, the more you see swell. So on average, that could be 2 to 4 feet, if that. But when you're expecting swell, like for surfers, we're watching for that swell to get here, and we'll watch a buoy offshore, and we'll see that the wave period's maybe 2 to 3, 2 to 4 feet or whatever, and then all of a sudden, it jumps to 6 to 7. That is a sign that the swell is coming, and when that number gets up to 15, that Lou, you're talking about, that means you've got a big swell, and that means you've had a big system out there blowing for quite some time. You got to imagine, it's been a good solid 5 days, 6 days, just since it's been north of the islands. So this has been pumping swell in this direction for a good time.
Yeah. Now. So just going to kind of show our big impacts here on the Jacksonville side. The surf of 7 to 11, we could see 15-foot faces. That would be a one-off, right? That wouldn't be a steady every 15 seconds. We're getting a 15-footer, obviously, as Bobby just kind of talked about. But it's certainly, possible. And another thing to note, when you got a long period like that, you get some power with those washouts or rip currents, as we call them, and so that's why our rip current risk is high. We do have a coastal flood advisory here in Jacksonville right now as well, and that will be for our high tides, which I can kind of show you. I'm going to go to the map of my main wave heights for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, talking about specific breakers. So for today, 7 to 11. Thursday, we're relaxing a bit, but we're going to still have those 5 to 8 footers for Thursday. Friday, 4 to 6, but we're going to have a front start dipping down by Friday. And guys, this is your tides all up and down our beaches from coastal Georgia all the way, so from Glenn County all the way down through Camden, Nassau, Duval, St. John's, and Flagler. All right, so it really is, we're talking about the evening highs, so that range from about 6:45 to about 8 p.m. will be what we're seeing as far as our high tides go. Now, when we talk coastal flooding, let me just kind of double down and emphasize that we're for interests that get nuisance flooding during a king tide, for instance. When we get our new moon, full moon tides around here, those couple times a year we get the higher than usual king tide. And if you live along some marsh that's tidally influenced by the intracoastal or the St. Johns River on the kind of northern edges, or even out at the beach, these tides, we're talking 1.5 to 2 feet higher than what we typically would get. So keep that in mind. That could mean some water in some yards. That could mean some water up to the dunes in areas, some areas, especially towards Nassau County. So that would be my Fernandina Beach friends. We're going to watch some higher water on our beaches. Might going to make for a small beach. And maybe, just maybe, in Flagler County, where we do see A1A in southern St. John's, Bobby, and into Flagler, as you've probably driven before. I mean, it's steps to the beach. It truly is the coastal highway. And so there is the chance in Flagler, when we get a strong nor'easter in Flagler County, sometimes water will make it up kind of close to A1A, and so we'll just kind of watch that. But this is not going to be any sort of catastrophic flooding. This isn't going to be anything that will, do property damage. It's just, you might have some fuller marshes or some higher, boat ramps. You'll notice it there. And a
little bit of erosion too. I mean, I've seen a lot of those areas, say in the Ormond area northward towards southern Flagler, they've been doing some beach renourishment. Yes. And I hate to see these things because they put a lot of work, a lot of money into that, and you get one storm come through, and then, man, it really wipes it out. This is a look at the wave heights for the Carolinas. So what we get on Florida's East Coast won't be that bad, okay? 1 to 2 foot. They're probably going to see a 2 to 3 foot surge on top of 20 to 25-foot waves along the Outer Banks. That's about some of the highest that we're going to see. And you can see this is just for tonight, and I think tomorrow it actually gets worse. You can see where the center is. Out there, there'll be 35, 45-foot waves. But as you look towards the coastal sections, as we get into tomorrow, look at that 21-foot there off of Hatteras, 17-foot even coming around the corner when you get it's a little side shore right there. But keep in mind, they've had erosion there already. You've probably seen that on TV, but that is only going to pick up because now they're going to start to pick up winds, 35, 45 mile per hour winds. They'll probably see gusts in near 60 out of the north and the east. And on the east coast of the United States, including Florida and especially here in North Carolina that you're looking at, erosion typically goes from north to south. So you'll notice these barrier islands, the north end of the island is always getting dredged, is always having erosion issues. The south end of the island grows. This is a prime example. It's a northeast wind. It literally takes it from the north down to the south, and then you might have a jetty there that kind of holds it in like for an inlet, and that helps the south end of the island build up. But there is going to be a ton of that. We will not have as much wind here, right, Lou? I mean, what are we looking at? 15, maybe even 20 knots of wind, if that, for Florida, versus 50 to 60 possible for gusts, at least, along the Outer Banks. So that's what we're expecting right now. I did want to show you as it moves away, it is going to go up towards the north. So remember, folks up north haven't gone back to school yet, right? The kids are still out of school. This is kind of like one of the last weeks before they go back to school. So this is beach week. And look at these swells. I mean, look at the green there. That's getting larger and larger. And that's going to be hitting Chincoteague, Ocean City, Maryland, Rehoboth, all the way up. You get into Jersey. And now watch what happens here in Jersey. It's going to pick up. I'll zoom in just a little bit more again for you there. But it's going to be picking up there. This will affect areas all the way up through Long Island and Martha's Vineyard. I mean, it's not a huge beach there, but obviously Long Island's got some beaches. And, of course, all those Jersey beaches will be dealing with it. Lou, this is the graph, and I want to stop it. This is the winds now from our graph model for the Carolinas. And right before we lost you there, I was talking about you're not expecting a whole lot of wind on the northeast coast of Florida. But right now it is still northeast. But then by the time we get towards tomorrow morning, it's actually going to be blowing offshore. Surfers are going to love that. Let me just, I like what you said about not going back out in the water for swimmers, but even the lifeguards usually let the surfers go. And then after a while, the waves get so big and so blown out that even the surfers don't want to go out there. Plus, it's hard to even paddle out when it gets too choppy. So that kind of fixes itself. But looking at this, I mean, surfers in the Jacksonville area are getting up early tomorrow. You have light offshore winds and still a big swell.
Oh, 100%.
That's a good scenario for smooth, large waves that are really good for surfing.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, those west winds giving you a good long ride. That is the early morning crowd. I know it's going to be. They've kind of. This is probably the day. Frankly, Thursday is probably the day that's been circled by my lead researchers out in the water. So that it's going to look good. I think with that wind shift. When we talk about like the fetch and the rain chances, Bobby, as well, as we get into that, like coastal Georgia. So for my friends in coastal Georgia, are thinking, like, are we going to get any rain out of this? Just the lineup of your coastline. So even if we back up to where we get into like winds tonight, where we're getting more north winds, we're talking about those shower chances. I mean, like Glenn County, So what's due north of you in Glenn is essentially all land, okay? Now, what's due north of you in, say, St. Augustine is ocean, right? So you kind of draw a line straight up the map, and so there is the chance, if you're just kind of grasping at straws here and thinking where could we see a little bit of rain with this, where we've already seen it, would be southern St. Johns County. So I think St. Augustine Beach down towards Crescent and Butler Beach and into Marineland, probably see a few showers. But Glenn County, you're thinking to yourself, well, we've got these northern winds, and you're not going to get much fetch over the water. You're not going to get much opportunity for rain. So just a heads up there, bluebird kind of condition. And St. Simon's Island beaches, they're the ones, another kind of beach that's super short. not the long beach. So at high tide, St. Simon's this evening, so we're talking, 6:45-ish. Let's watch for, some of that coastal flooding for sure. But yeah, I like the winds. We could see a few good gusts up there to 20 to 25 on our beaches as we go through a little later on this afternoon and into the evening. But what we all wanted to see, and we've waited for the center of this to kind of be, latitudinally parallel with Jacksonville and moving north. It's finally happening, and we get that shift, Bobby. So things you love to see.
Yep.
Here in the last 5 minutes, I got an email question last night from a viewer, and I loved it. It was, with air, we've got a couple of things out there to watch, that the Hurricane Center has sort of highlighted. And got this email asking the question, and it was from David. So David, thank you if you're watching the stream. If with Erin moving through, does that have any impacts? Essentially, the question was phrased as, does it suck energy out of the atmosphere or out of the ocean, so to speak, to kind of inhibit development for either of these two systems that we're watching back? The one wave off closer to the Lesser Antilles, the other closer to the coast of Africa. And, my thought process is we kind of look at upwelling and the potential for a little turbulence in the atmosphere, that ridge that's there that steered Erin, that system that's closer to the Lesser Antilles, the one in the middle here that's got the 60% chance of development over the next few days, really feels like it's just going to kind of get pulled right along a general Erin path. What have you seen?
Exactly the same thing. What it does is Erin going north opens the door for the ridge. So let's go back to, let me have this graphic I just had here. The ridge is basically what this thing is going around. They kind of bob around the ridge. We'll get back to these sea surface temperatures here. But you end up with this high pressure, and this is going to look ugly, I know, but you get a high pressure sitting out here, okay? And the shape of that high pressure, sometimes it's small, like it is now, but other times, and a lot of times, it extends all the way out like this, all right? And it just fluctuates. It goes back and forth. Well, the very fact that Erin did something like this and is here now and is coming up here, it chops away from this end of it. I'll get this out of the way. So now your high pressure is shaped like this. And so that literally opens the door for this one to come up and around. If that high pressure extended out here, we didn't have Erin come through, this would come up and do something like that. Okay, and then try and come back around it. And that's not what's going to happen. So it's really good that Erin is there to do that. The other thing about Erin and what Lou was talking about is called upwelling. And it's tough to see this. I guess we have to get this updated here. But number one, this stretch right in here, well, that's very warm water, 86 to about 89 degrees. Erin is sitting somewhere right in here and will come up. Okay, so it right now is over some of the warmest water it's seen the whole time, and it's strengthening as a result. That's a clear sign of just how important warm water and warmer than normal water is to these hurricanes. And you can see that's where it is now. But what Lou's saying with upwelling is, think about, this thing's been sitting in here. Let me just draw the track for you. When something like this, all right, it's been doing lots of wind, lots of wind, lots of wind. That literally blows that warm water that's at the top of the surface of the ocean off to one direction, and then the water underneath has to come up to fill that void, and that's upwelling. And that water is colder down there. So not only does it move that water out of the way, but it lowers the surface temperature of the water, which creates less energy for the storm coming behind it, which would be that middle Atlantic one that we're talking about. Although that one is probably going to go a little further to the east, but it will still have to cross paths up here of where Erin eventually went.
And another thing we've got that we're watching kind of here locally, Bobby, is we do have a front that's dipping down into our area for Friday, going to bring some rain to Friday night football. Saturday, Sunday, we're watching kind of rainy days with the trough digging in. So with that in mind, another element with the ridge steering, with the trough digging in, just another kind of layer to this. that kind of gives greater confidence that as we look 7 to 10 days out, of course we continue to monitor, but brings some comfort. I had this map, to another upwelling kind of thought. This is your deep warm water map, so we get a lot of interest in sea surface temperatures, 3 to 4 feet down, but we can also, look a couple of meters down. If that water column stays hot even further down, then upwelling doesn't really matter as much. What gets brought up is warm water as well, and hurricanes draw a lot of energy there. But I will say that little nub of blue that you see over the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos are very near there. That is some cooler water, that column that has been kind of brought up from Erin. So I take that as a bit of encouragement. Now, that doesn't last long, okay? So you give this another 7 to 10 days of really hot conditions out over these Atlantic and Caribbean waters, and that sea surface temperature will bounce right back up. But the deep warm water is encouraging, and again, kind of looking at a map that shows a bit of that trough digging in as we get into Friday. There comes a trough Saturday, Sunday, and even into Monday.
So nice up
pretty
north.
Good steering currents. Oh my gosh! Yes, in fact, I've got my CPC graphic ready for you. I was so encouraged by this, the 6 to 10 day outlook. How about that? I mean, it really kind of gives us something to hope for.
Hey, Lou,
maybe at least in Northeast Florida.
We're in Central and Southern Florida. That ain't none of our business. Not this time of year.
That's none of your business, is it?
No.
We at least get on that teetering edge of gray, and that encourages me, Bobby. It's great to join you, my friend. I know we've got a limited time, but it is always